Hello, everybody out there. This is Don Snizaski, Life and Safety. I appreciate your time in sitting this event and hearing this training class. So we're interested in getting your feedback afterwards. And again, the point of this presentation is really just to give you the things that you need to be mindful about. Helping organizations protect their most important assets, people in the environment. Basically, the world has come to the place where people have become so vitally important to the workforce, finding people, retaining people. So when you get them in there, you want to keep them safe and you want to keep them happy. So with further ado, I'm going to get started here. Again, my name is Don Snizaski. Just a little bit about my history. I graduated from the College of Charleston with a degree in industrial psychology. That was a long time ago. The picture there, I'm a little bit grayer than this picture now. That picture was probably taken 10 years ago. So the other thing that a little bit about my history, I was in the Navy. I was in a CB construction battalion, and I drilled at the Navy Weapons Station in Charleston, South Carolina. And also I worked for the Department of Labor, OSHA, in South Carolina. So from 1992 to 1997, I worked as an OSHA compliance officer for South Carolina. My days at OSHA were some of the best. I know OSHA sometimes can maybe not leave people with a good image, but really those folks down there do a great job trying to roll out regulations to all the different industries and make it fit and make it work. And it's a tough job. So I really, really enjoyed my time as an OSHA compliance officer. And I thank all the folks that are doing a good job out there to be fair and to meet industry needs. Also in 1997, I left OSHA and started Life and Safety Consultants. We started really in 1997. There wasn't a lot of technology in 1997, so we were all boots on the ground, helping companies, protect resources, protect their workers, and put policies and procedures in place. Since 1997, we have morphed into not just a safety consulting business, but to environmental consulting business, and also rolled out a lot of e-tools and online services. So this is, the OSHA Cowboy has always been to me like a funny skit on what a worker or what an employer needs to be geared up for the day to comply with OSHA regulations. Today, this picture is almost obsolete. I know there's a lot of regulations. I know there's a lot of procedures. But honestly, if you're not managing your process, your safety requirements in a platform outside of some kind of Excel spreadsheet or Outlook reminder, then you're stuck chasing your tail. This is exactly why a lot of employers or employees get frustrated, is because they feel like they can never get their head above water and they're always chasing their tail. So my recommendation is to find a platform that works for you so that you can manage all these different parts and pieces. So OSHA has arrived. I remember knocking on the door of clients, or not clients, geez, of industry. And, it's a nervous feeling when you say, hey, I'm here from OSHA. I'm here to conduct an inspection. I'm here to do a fatality inspection. I'm here to do a general inspection. That really, employers are nervous. They don't know their rights a lot of times. They don't know who to contact. So this presentation is just going to hit the high points of what employers and employees should know or should remember. The proper introduction with the appropriate contact. I mean, if OSHA is in the lobby and they're knocking, we want to make sure that senior managers, if you don't have a safety manager, then maybe the plant manager or the HR manager, but someone with the official credentials needs to meet the OSHA inspector. The other thing you want to find out is why are they here? Is this a general schedule inspection that you've been randomly picked by the Bureau of Labor Statistics? Is it a complaint? Is it a fatality? What are the reasons why OSHA are here? That's why you want to have the appropriate people contact them. The other thing, I'm sure we may have some OSHA workers or some OSHA employees on this call. I mean, I'm not trying to dish anything here, but if OSHA's in the lobby, you really want to have some way to inform management that OSHA is here. We're not trying to hide anything. We're not trying to skirt by anything. But if OSHA is in the lobby, there needs to be some way to inform the management team. I'm not saying you need to have a red alarm button, but you need to there needs to be a way that you inform of any regulator on site. Management needs to know that any regulator is on site. That way they can get themselves ready. You also don't want to panic. I've seen a lot of people kind of, depending on how serious the situation is, kind of break down. If you're going to panic, do not start rambling on what is wrong, what is right. You need to make sure you have good composure, and you want to keep truthful communication. I don't mind, I really think it's not a bad idea to you want to bring the OSHA inspector in from the lobby, find a nice, comfortable place to sit down, and ask, why are you here? Now, depending on the situation, OSHA may try to get out to the site sooner than later. If it's an accident or a fatality, then they may show credentials, but they may want to get to the site sooner than later. So just understand that as a person on the other side here. Now, if it's a general schedule inspection, meaning that they're showing up and they're just going to do a wall to wall, it can go a little bit slower. You can invite them into a lobby. You can say, let me go get my supervisor. They may at this point want to start looking at all your written procedures. And that's the next thing I want to talk about, is how important these written procedures are. So, one of the questions is, should I turn them away or invite them in? If you turn OSHA away, there is a good chance that they come back with an administrative warrant. An administrative warrant is just a warrant that lets them in the door. If it's a fatality or an accident and you're turning OSHA away, or there's a immediately dangerous type of situation, OSHA is going to really quickly get an administrative warrant. If it's a general schedule inspection, you've been picked by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, then it may take a little bit of time. It all depends on the situation. But the goal is, you better have a good reason to turn them away, because if they get an administrative warrant, I mean, the rule is that they can't be any more stringent, but obviously there's a little bit of more frustration baked into the situation. And so it's always good if you're ready to, invite them in. But if you do invite them in, the house needs to be in order. And that's some of the things we're going to talk about here. We want to make sure that you are ready for them to review your records. You're ready for them to walk the facility or go to the accident site, interview employees. All these things are going to occur. Also, one of the things I wanted to note on that last slide before I moved on is, if there's any contractors on site, so folks, if you contract out your maintenance, if you have a person on site working on a forklift, contractors can all be swept into this audit, depending on why OSHA is there. So, a lot of times third-party contractors have no idea OSHA's on site. And next thing you know, they're caught into some kind of inspection, so they're not very happy either. So again, if you refuse OSHA, they're going to provide an administrative warrant. However, if you have well-maintained records, it goes a long way to putting OSHA at ease. So your HAZCOM program, your PPE assessments, all these written procedures, inspections, corrective action reports, um, you know, if you're able to produce the information when OSHA is asked for it, it puts the OSHA inspector at ease. That's, you know, the understanding is that you're maintaining your house, you're maintaining your safety requirements. So now, if records are unorganized, like they can't find the lockout tagout program because the maintenance department is keeping it and they have it in their own file, or HR has certain things. Now, it's not bad to let stakeholders take ownership, but it's still, and my recommendation would be that it still needs to be in some kind of cohesive system. So people are not, I can't find this program, or I can't find his training record, or that's his responsibility. There really needs to be a way for these forms and inspections and programs to be, what I would again recommend is putting it in some kind of records management system. There's tons of great software on the market today, and it alleviates all these looking in folders and files to try to find things. So open your books or not. If you open your books, some of the first things that OSHA is going to ask for, or may ask for, is your OSHA 300 logs. Hopefully everybody's maintaining their OSHA 300 logs. If you're required to submit them to OSHA, a lot of facilities now are required to go online and submit their OSHA records, their 300 records, to OSHA directly. That's you know, in the last few years that has all changed. It used to be paper copies. The other thing about these OSHA and injury and illness records, they really need to match up against some of the medical providings or medical advice that you're getting. So if someone comes back on light duty and they're off for 3 days, it really needs to match up against your OSHA 300 logs. A lot of folks struggle with that. I still see out there today is maintaining their OSHA 300 logs closely to what their medical providers are giving them recommendations on. The other thing so once you have your OSHA logs, that's where OSHA is going to look to see if there's any trends. You know, slips, trips, and falls, carpal tunnel, ergonomics. The OSHA 300 logs are really meant to provide a record of the injuries so that we can keep looking for trends. You can keep mining for trends to go try to reduce your injuries. The other important point to remember, if you're going to open your books, that your health and safety programs, are they maintained? Are they being revised? Are they being updated? If you're a construction group, do you have a new silica program? How are you going to be enforcing the new heat stress national emphasis program that OSHA is going to be rolling out? So these records, these health and safety programs are vital because they're going to review these programs and see how well they are being maintained or enforced in the workplace. There's a lot of folks out there that have great written programs. However, their employees have no idea where they are, what's in them, even management. So it's really important that you're maintaining these health and safety programs, because if you're not, these are all finable events. If you're not, you don't have a lockout tagout program, or you're entering confined spaces and you don't have a confined space program. These are all important procedures along with your training records. So typically training records go hand in foot with the program. And, you know, hopefully you're understanding what has reoccurring, like bloodborne pathogen is an annual training requirement. Fire extinguishers is an annual training requirement, that you're adhering to the expiration dates and retraining requirements per OSHA. What I highly recommend, if you think that internally you have gaps, is to either contact OSHA. OSHA has a consultation division that can come out and provide an assessment. There's no fines. There's no, all you have to do is provide proof that you're going to correct the items they found. There's other requirements, size of industries, but if you think you have gaps in your health and safety program, you could try to work through OSHA. You could hire a third party such as Life and Safety or other safety firms out there. But if you want to know the health of your overall health and safety program and you internally do not have the assets or resources, I highly recommend that you go out and get a third party or other agency look at what you need to be doing. Also, these assessments, they're detailed. A machine-specific lockout tagout assessment of all the equipment in your facility, how to shut it off, lock it out, how to verify it's locked out, how to turn it off. Those are all steps that have to be documented. Many companies still, that's a lot of time, are still struggling to try to get all those things put together. Confined space assessments, how do you enter these confined spaces? Where are they? Those are all heavy-duty assessments. Also, industrial hygiene, noise and air sampling. So you really need, in today's day and age, to know what your noise levels are. Are you over 85 decibels? Do you need to have a hearing conservation program? Are you providing training? Is this an annual training? Are they getting their baseline hearing tests? A lot to that. So, and then any air sampling. Do we have any overexposures to different contaminants? Those are all assessments. Again, a number of firms provide that. OSHA even has a consultation division that could come out and help provide for certain industries these type of noise or air sampling. I highly recommend you consider reviewing that if you need these things, because at any time a worker can say they were overexposed, and if you don't have any documentation, then you don't have a strong leg to stand on. Any type of maintenance records, monthly crane inspections, forklift inspections, AED inspections, there's a whole bunch of equipment. So as you can see here, if you're not maintaining these things and you let OSHA in, there's a good chance they uncover these discrepancies. However, I think, turning them away is not the greatest answer either, because there could be bigger repercussions there. So my take to you here is, please go out and get a good holistic look at your safety programs and process to see where the gaps are and see where you need to fill them. So does documentation hurt or help you? Well, I can tell you this: if you are conducting inspections and you're not correcting your items, it will definitely hurt you. It's almost, if you're not going to correct, then it's almost not inspect. I mean, unless you are bent down and ready to follow a corrective action process, then documentation can hurt you. We don't want to see inspections. OSHA doesn't want to see inspections. Nobody does. The insurance companies, of open action items with no corrective action date in sight. That is employer knowledge. And those are the kind of things that can hurt you. I mean, if nothing against OSHA, OSHA's out there to do an inspection. They want to prove, or they're trying to prove, did they know this hazard existed? Did the employer know that the hazard existed? And why is it not being corrected? And what steps should you do to correct it? So what I would highly recommend is that you create a closed loop corrective action system. Now, that's a lot of words, but really all that means is when you find a deficiency, that you have a mechanism to know who corrected it, when it was corrected, and that is all filed away, because the last thing you want to do is uncover that we are doing inspections. Example, you're doing forklift inspections, and every day the workers come out there and say that the horn doesn't work or the brake doesn't work, and they're doing these inspections. Now somebody gets hurt. OSHA is able to get a hold of these forklift inspections, and it's been noted for the last 2 months or weeks that the horn hasn't worked. Those things can really hurt you. And so, again, I highly recommend that you use some type of closed looped, find a problem, correct the problem system. Safety from the top. Management visibility goes a long way to bring safety culture and performance to where it needs to be. You know, I'm a true believer in policies and procedures, and I just stress the importance of having them. But most of the time, when you have management visibility and commitment, it drives that culture. So people want to wear their safety glasses. So people want to follow it. Really, being a consultant out here for the last 20, 30 years, you can almost automatically walk in and within the first few hours ascertain the management commitment to this. And it isn't just a plaque on the wall. It isn't just a slogan in the lobby. It's an actual commitment to walking the floor occasionally, meeting people, showing that management is committed to this process. And I can tell you, it will definitely help performance overall, not just in safety, but quality. So that means proper allotment for time of training. Time of training doesn't need to be gone with the wind. I know a lot of safety consultants that like to get up there and really talk. Honestly, you know, pick your topic, make sure people understand it. It could be instructor led, it could be computer based, but you want to make sure that there's proper allotment of time. And I also would like to bake in there a little bit of competency, a question that they acknowledge that they understand, or some form of that the training was given and that the employee understands. Also, proper allotment of resources. I think I tried to touch on this earlier. If you don't have the resources internally to do a health check of your safety programs and processes, then please go get an external view, or again, contact OSHA.gov. They have a consultation division. Other resources, your insurance company. A lot of times people pay for risk control services that are not really utilized by the companies. They're baked into your premium, but they are not always fully requested by the companies. Safety committees. I like a well-functioning safety committee, ones with goals and objectives and minutes and notes, and not a bake sale safety committee, but a safety committee that understands its roles and its processes and follows it. They can bring a wealth of information and also be a heartbeat of what your employees are, how they feel in the environment, how they view safety in the workforce. So a strong safety committee, again, can be a wealth of good, and a poorly run safety committee really almost isn't worth their time if they're not meeting with an agenda in mind to follow. So OSHA has rolled out, has continued to roll out these national emphasis programs. We are currently working on a few combustible dust assessments and programs with clients. The new one, though, is heat exposure, the heat national emphasis program. I'm going to touch upon it briefly, but it is it's going to be a daunting task for folks that are now, and I'll pull up a list of who's in this national emphasis program for heat stress, heat exposure. So the other one I want to talk about here real quick, though, is crystalline silica. and trenching excavation. Those are always trenching excavation. If OSHA sees an open trench and they're driving by, I know when I worked for them, I was mandated to stop in and ask who's the competent person. Do you have training? Those were all national emphasis programs for a long time. So what you need to know about OSHA's heat stress initiative, there is a lot. This is a new standard. Is the national emphasis is going to be rolled out? Heat index of 80 degrees or higher. OSHA is going to prioritize heat-related interventions and inspections. And here they listed a number of number of industries that fall in this targeted heat stress. So OSHA is going to start kind of peeking around at these type of industries. So I highly recommend that you use some type of app like the app here. The OSHA has a tremendous heat stress app you can download, and you can put in where you are and your specific information. It'll tell you exactly, where you are in the heat stress map. And also, it'll give you guidance on, people need to sit in the shade. You need to give so much water. They need to have so much breaks. All that is governed out of this app. So I highly recommend you use some type of tool. If I'm a construction company and I got workers out there and it's August and OSHA comes rolling up, you better have some type of tool that you're using to say, we're following this heat stress targeted initiative. Here's how we're enforcing this. Here's how we're letting people take breaks. Here's what we're doing. Here's how much water we're providing. Here's the app we're using to track temperature and wet bulb. It's actually a wet bulb test. So please, OSHA.gov has tremendous resources available. There's a lot of other programs out there that have great resources available, but please consider using some type of tool to manage it. This is, again, just on heat stress. Folks need to know these are the signs and symptoms. What are the risk factors? Also, excessive medication, you're getting weak, all these heat stroke versus heat exhaustion. This is going to have to kind of be, I would bake this into your new hire orientation, actually, so that people are getting it from day one, especially if your industry falls in the national emphasis program, that this is just covered right up front, signs and symptoms, what to do. That would be my recommendation. And I think, how long have we gone? It's about 30 minutes. So this is really the end of my presentation. And, please, if you have any questions, you can chat me a text, and I can answer them, or we are also going to have another presentation just on heat stress as we're all digging into it now, and what would be the best means and measures to control that on your workforce, to make sure that you're complying with this new recommendation or this new national emphasis program. And I really appreciate everybody's time today. We've had a lot of followers, and we've had a lot of great folks that are working with life and safety. And I thank you over the years of all the support and commitment you've provided. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. If there are any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat window. There is one that was sent to me privately. Don, if OSHA does show up and there are fines or anything like that, what can the client or what can the company expect to happen if there is something noted or something like that comes in?
That is a great question. I actually should have had a slide on that. So if you get cited, if you receive a citation, please respond within the guidelines set from the citation. Don't sit it on a desk for a few weeks and then decide I want to respond back to OSHA. They will give you so many days to request an informal conference, which is basically an informal conferences. You either show up at OSHA or you call them and you set up a virtual meeting and you discuss your citations and why you feel they're not warranted, or what you've done to mitigate these things from occurring. My time with South Carolina OSHA, they really worked well to try to meet the industry and construction needs out there. So step one would be to evaluate the citations. If you have someone internally that understands health and safety really well, then I would definitely include them in on this. But my recommendation would be first always to request an informal conference. That's where you, again, contact OSHA, set up a meeting. You go over what you feel is right and wrong. They go over what they feel is right and wrong. In the informal conference, they have the ability to reduce fines for things called severity, probability, good faith, and history. Those are all markers that OSHA uses to set fines and penalties. So honestly, if you're doing your due diligence and you're really trying to comply with standards and and do your best, and some things have slipped up, OSHA typically will work with you in the informal conference. One of the things they're going to request you to do is some type of abatement. So let's just say you got cited for heat stress, which would be a general duty citation because there is no exact OSHA standard on heat stress. And you're trying to comply and something happened, you can, again, OSHA will work with you. If you're again trying to roll these things out, and if you had no citations in the last 3 years, they're gonna work with you on size and history and good faith. Now, if you're a repeat offender, and you've been cited a few times, then you actually start getting into the failure to abate, willful, repeat violation citations, and those get more complicated. However, during the informal conference, if you are not happy with your outcome, the company contacts OSHA, they have the meeting, fines are not reduced, penalties are not reduced, your stance was not taken into consideration, then you can request a formal conference. A formal conference is when basically attorneys line up, you get your attorney involved, they get their attorney involved, and then it goes down a legal path. Honestly, no one wants to go down a legal path if it can be avoided through the informal conference, but some things eventually go to the formal conference, and that's when attorneys get involved. Did I answer your question?
Yes, I think that did answer. My follow-up question was going to be, is it possible that the fines and fees could be significantly reduced or removed? And I think the answer to that is pretty much yes, but only if there's an informal conference. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, you want to, look, honestly, I worked for the agency and I've been out here a long time. They want to work with you. So if you approach and you requested a formal conference and you're doing all this corrective action and abatements, and you are, most of the time, and you're not a repeat offender, they're going to really work with you. Now you've been cited 3 or 4 times, and then it gets harder to get these penalties reduced.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I think that answered any of the questions that we had come in. I once again, thank you, Don, for the presentation. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. Really appreciate everyone's time.